All right, welcome ladies. Thank you for coming today. We are going to talk to you today about ADHD and ADD and what students go through in school with that.
So we're going to start off with a quick simulation before we start going into the slides. So I need you to take the pencil that you have at the desk and your paper that you have, and what you're going to do is multiple things at once. We will be playing some music while you guys go through the simulation, and it's only going to last about 1 minute or so.
Alright, so how did you guys feel during that activity? Does anyone want to answer?
I was like, okay, what am I going to be doing? And then I had to think about it for a second before I did it.
Alright, so I want you ladies to think about how you felt during that activity, and that was supposed to kind of give you an idea of how some kids might feel that are dealing with ADHD and ADD in classroom. So this is just a short definition of what ADHD is, and it is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a complex brain disorder that impacts approximately 11% of children aged 4 to 17 and almost 5% of adults in the United States.
So this is a little quote that I pulled from a magazine called Attitude, and so it says, having ADHD makes you different from everyone else. In a world where kids are expected to sit still without fidgeting, moving, getting up, making noise, or talking to people, and complete tasks for an hour at a time, a child needs special accommodations.
So just a couple of facts are here. 2/3 of children with ADHD have at least one other mental, emotional, or behavioral disorder. Other possible paired disorders that go along with ADHD or ADD, the depression, autism, anxiety, and Tourette's.
And so for the student's perspective, I basically asked them, what has been your experience with ADHD in the school system? Do you feel like the school system is able to help you go through school and be successful? And when I asked him about the school system and how he felt about it and how he thought they understood, and he said it fails to fully understand the depths of ADHD while lacking emotional connections with the students. But for the parents, I interviewed those parents. I asked them, what's their life like when the child gets home, especially if the child is medicated? How do they act? What are your concerns about the school system? Just explain more in depth about your student's disability. And so they expressed a distress and difficulty completing homework with the child. They said if the child is left alone to do their homework and it's more than one page or so, it takes about 2 to 4 hours for him to actually complete it all through. And they worry a lot about the emotional damage that it does to the child because it is a very hard disability to go through school. And then from the teacher's perspective, I interviewed a few teachers, and they believe that one of them believes the education system and the pre-services that she was given did not give a solid foundation for handling ADHD in the classroom, just doing different things to help the students succeed. What perspective do you think that you want to go more in depth about, and what do you want to learn more about and understand fully?
Well, I am concerned that my daughter may have ADD because the homework is a huge issue. So that, she's only in 4th grade, but to get 3 problems done, it just takes such a long time to get through all that. So I definitely am in that parent corner right now.
My son is 21 and he has ADHD, and I think the emotional damage is a very important thing that people don't think about, because there's a self-perception where I should be able to do this. And I've told him forever, should statements are shaming. I don't say you should do this or you should do that, but he says it to himself because that's what he's heard. He wants to be able to be successful and he wants to be able to get things started, but it takes so much more effort to get the process going in the beginning that he runs out of steam to finish whatever task it is.
I was going to say, when I took a year away from education and worked as a special ed aide, it was the best year of teaching in my life because of the training that we were given. And it shocked me that 20 years later, none of the teaching years I ever had gave us that training. It should be mandatory for everyone.
With that, I did ask them a few questions about what they wanted to see more in classrooms and what ways the teachers could help. So for a few classroom management tips, you can create a flexible seating arrangement. And another one is swivel chairs, fidget cubes, and items similar to those actually help these students focus, which is kind of odd because for a normal student that doesn't have ADHD, it would distract him. But it helps the student focus. Read through the IEP as well as the 504 plan. Just try to go fully in depth with that, and overall just communicate with the ADHD student to figure out what the student is most comfortable with and what ways they can work efficiently and successfully in the class. All right, now we're gonna start to close up a little bit with some conclusion questions that Hannah is gonna answer.
So first we're just gonna start, would anyone else want to share anything, just any thoughts that have popped in your head during this time?
I think one of the things that's really, really important is that last piece, because often when an IEP is developed, when a 504 plan is developed, the people who are in charge of it put in the accommodations that they feel like should work. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It's the thing that's supposed to work. It's not. Ask the person, you know, that piece of involving the student in planning what is best for them is really important.
So what kind of things do you guys personally do with your students that suffer with ADHD?
I think the idea of giving choice is really important because every kid is different and every day is different, and depending on the time of day, they may feel different. So when you have those options, you feel a little bit more in control, and the kid who needs to kind of go back and forth with something, that works well for them. You just have to find what works well for that kiddo. And I think
the big thing is that you have to take a minute to put yourself in the place of the students and also in the place of the parents. Because if you come in and every day you're like, man, Bobby annoys the crap out of me, I just really cannot. Think about what it's like at home, you know? Because especially if you've got more than one kiddo who's got ADHD, those parents are gonna be like, yeah, it's a lot, I understand. And if you just talk to them and ask them what works, it's a win for everybody involved. Communication is really a key component with the student, with the parents, with the teachers.
Is there something that you guys would specifically want to see if you go back to thinking about college, is there something that you would want to see trained specifically, like ADHD, and not just involving ADHD, maybe like the paired minutes or so, paired mental issues? Is there something that they feel like they stepped on? Is there something that you didn't feel as went deeply as? So any comments about that?
I always feel like when it comes to teacher preparation in college and reflecting on my own experience, the more we can have people in classrooms and you know, living out their learning, the better. Because there's only so much that you can understand sitting at a desk, you know, and even if you were hearing about something, you're learning about something, applying it in the classroom or at least walking alongside someone that is, in that real time just experience is super helpful. And so I would just love to see teacher preparation courses, you know, just even more than they already do, getting people into classrooms and applying their learning.
I think we're at time for 2 more comments.
The number of times I've said they didn't prepare me for this is a lot. Like, no one told me this was going to happen, and it happens, and you have to figure it out in the moment.
These hands-on activities that we had to go through at the beginning, because it's so eye-opening just to see, oh my gosh, this is so stressful to have to function like this every class all day long, and you know, so I think this is the best education right here, what we went through at the beginning.
Any final comments? All right, well, thank you ladies for coming today. We are so happy that you could make it this morning. Thank you for coming to our presentation.